have an idea, right? Because that's we're still at the idea stage for a lot of these projects. And he says, out of nowhere, we're talking like Firefox extensions, WordPress plugins, widgets, iPhone apps. He says, I have an idea, but first I want to share a problem. And the problem is that bear with me, is that the rapture is coming. The rapture is coming, and tons of people are going to be taken, to heaven, and tons of people, though, are going to be left behind. And there's going to be no way to rescue them. And I have an idea for a web app that's going to rescue those people, because they need our help. And it's a true story. I looked it up and to prepare for this. And I had to, block him. But a few days later, I realized that this guy is my hero on some level. He found this really big problem, and he realized the potential of the web in his own way to address that issue. And I strive to find as big of problems and to take them on with the community together. And I think that from what I've learned about the Victoria social media scene, a lot of other people here do too. So that's my introduction story, and it's just an honor and a pleasure to be here. And you're just all so awesome and welcoming, and working on such great projects. So thank you together, and taking on issues and really bring people together across boundaries. And that's a challenge in social media, right? We can sort of get used to the people we're talking to on Twitter. We can get used to the blogs that we're reading. We can get used to our friends on Facebook. And I'd love to talk later on the panel about ideas for breaking through that comfort zone. What are Net Tuesdays? Net Tuesdays, interestingly, are a bit like what you're doing with social media clubs. They're about bringing social technologists, social media people together with organizations in your community, and bringing together social entrepreneurs, bringing together business folks, government folks, and helping those working on social change connect with communities for more effective. How we can start movements, and that the people that are involved in the social media community have whether you're 5 followers or 500 followers or 5,000 followers, you're sitting on rocket fuel, as Janice said. You're sitting on dynamite for starting movements. There are now, in the case of Net Tuesdays, over 50 Net Tuesdays around the world. Right? Well, what was the spark that starts that? And I think a spark can also include a vision, and a spark can also include an open invitation. And that's the case with Net Tuesdays. Net Tuesdays are a project of NetSquared, and on the NetSquared website, it's just an open invitation. This is what Net Tuesdays are about, and you can jump in. It's not just about experts, it's about everyone. If you don't have anyone else organizing a Net Tuesday in Vancouver, I guess I could start the application process. She was like, done, you're it. So to give your community tools to keep that going is also a very key part of movement building. And the main tools for movement building are the tools that we use and engage with every day, remixed for taking on issues of our time. Sometimes we look at really high-tech websites like My Barack Obama and wonder, how can I start a movement? I don't have those sort of financial resources. This is not a free tool, but it's pretty close to it. And the Meetup, I saw this on the Meetup website today on their About page, and I think that it's fascinating. Let's use the internet to get people off the internet. A Google group, a wiki, community blog, conference calls that we have twice a month, and there's an annual gathering, because if you don't meet in the real world, you can lose some of that transformative connections, right? And that's a theme of this too. Most of the photos you're seeing are people meeting. Talk about how you have to let go a little bit. And I think that's also, it's more than that. It's about letting other people take on. What happens when you let other people take your project forward, remix it, and evolve it? When you let other people really contribute to your vision and make it their own, you're going to see maps like this. And you'll see this consistently. That is awesome. In Chicago, they've launched their own consulting service. They've grown it way beyond simply meeting together, sort of what you guys are talking about here. It's the Navigators Guild. I think it's .com. They're just getting started. See, you can watch your mission multiply. You can watch what you're trying to change in the world continue to, not so much what you want to change in the world evolve, but watch the approaches evolve. By that, not so much the technology, but letting people really run with this technology in innovative ways, being less controlling. And I think that applies to all sorts of things. Change camps are fascinating. They started in Toronto, they spread to Ottawa. We did one in Vancouver, and there's one happening in Edmonton. And they bring together the community to reimagine government and citizenship in the age of participation. Around issues like open data, around issues of using the web for change, around issues of connecting with government now that everyone's coming on Twitter and Facebook. These are absolutely fascinating for building relationships, for building civic engagement. This is where it gets kind of neat, and it's the favorite part of this talk. It started with Raul, and Raul went on Twitter and said, this was in January, they were doing the Change Camp in Toronto, and Change Camp trended on Twitter, right? This is when you could trend, it was a bit easier. Now, I don't know, has anyone trended anymore recently? It's tough.
Not unless it means
Jackie?
Swayze.
No,
Kanye West.
Yegstorm trended. The thunderstorm in Edmonton back in July trended.
But if you're a marketer, it's kind of tough. Like, you kind of need a natural disaster. It's just a phrase, right? Change camp. You can kind of imagine what that is if you're kind of familiar with bar camps. You're going to bring together people and you're going to figure out ways to do social change in your community, right? That's kind of what change camp is, with a bit more of a spice in governance. And Wikipedia says a 1,000-mile journey begins with one step. Raul believes that a 1,000-mile movement begins with one tweet. And when we think of the tools that we want to use, I'm noticing that there seem to be some themes that evolve, like making sure that your organizers are highlighted, and making sure that you can see the faces of your movement, and making sure that tools can be splintered, right? That they can give birth to different threads. I created one account that might be worth following called NP Tech Blogs. NP stands for Nonprofit Tech Technology Blogs, which brings together 20-30 of the top nonprofit technology, social media for social change bloggers, and shoots them out through Twitter. And there's a tool that's really interesting called Nourish, NOURI.sh, that can turn any feed into an email newsletter. And there's another one out there too that might be better. And then and if you go on Delicious and you tag events that are happening, you can grab an RSS feed from Delicious. So you could at least create a prototype. So I just love sharing that stuff. But that sounds really cool. Change camps in Ottawa, a heavy government in Edmonton, I believe heavy technology and innovation, and in Vancouver, where we wanted to, it's not connected like Victoria or Ottawa necessarily to a significant body of government. Even though we wanted to engage government, we also wanted to bring together a lot of nonprofits, a lot of organizations, a lot of community workers. And so if you see the Change Camp video, you go to the Change Camp website, you'll see it's a little bit focused on government, and we stretched that vision, and it was because Change Camp allowed us to do that and really empowered us to do that I think that movement is growing. Really, I really encourage you to go to changecamp.ca.